Alright, so we're going to go over the Grubbin Groceries. This is our application. We'll hit play right here, and then we'll log in with username and password. Then we sign in. It takes a little bit for it to load because we got to go to the database, grab that user's profile, so we can see down there a bunch of commands we just sent to the database. We just grabbed all of that. Here we can update the user's restrictions if we want. So right now the user is vegetarian and they have a nut allergy, but we can update that. And then we can also create a meal plan here, but we'll do that later once we kind of understand the application more. So here we can view our current meal plan. So today's 12:05, so we can look at the meal plan from 12:04 to 12:05, which falls in the current one. This one's just cheesy cornmeal. We can see all the ingredients we need for this meal and how to make it. We can also look at the nutritional facts for it, so kind of calories for the servings, potassium, things like that for the meal. Same with the chocolate peanut butter one. We can look at that one. It's a breakfast for today actually, and it's got like 105 calories per serving, so kind of a heftier breakfast. And here I'm just going to kind of show what the database we're using. So we're actually using a MongoDB database for the back end, and we're going to store a bunch of information about the food. So that's kind of how we got that information to the user there about the type of nutritional information for the food they're using. So when we make a recipe, we actually go through and we parse all of the foods and we throw it into that database for using later. But here we can also check out like what the past plans were. So when we were creating the app earlier in November, we can see like the plans that we were making then. We can also look at the pantry that the user has, and if we want to add food, we can do that. So milk is actually in cups, so we'll add like 10 cups of milk there. And we can also delete food. So if we want to, like, say we use some rice from our pantry, let's delete that, update that from 4 to 2. And we can also look at the shopping list. So this shopping list gets populated when we create meals, or we can also add food to it by hand, just like we do the pantry. And we can also see a list of our recipes. So like this one's just a vegan recipe. It's for lunch. All the instructions to make it, the restrictions that we have on that, the restrictions that it falls into. And we can also create recipes. So let's check out what recipes we don't have in there right now. So the pumpkin kale we don't have yet. So we can go in and make that. But before we do that, yeah, we're gonna get an error there. So see, it says wrong file format. It's actually because our server is not started, so we're not able to actually go through and parse that correctly. So now we have the database started, we can reselect that file. It was recipe 3, so we'll grab that recipe, hit confirm, and then we'll see all those hits to our server. And that's just taking those things in the recipe and making them into food objects here and parsing that recipe to get only the food objects and not all the other information about it. So we'll go back over and I'll kind of walk you through that. So let's refresh that. There's our pumpkin kale steel oats. And here we have, let's look at these ingredients. So if you check out, we have like shallots peeled and minced, and like pumpkin puree. So let's look at this Nature Path organic steel oats. We can see that got converted to just steel oats right there. So we threw away all that extra information, just kept the important meal. So also with garlic cloves, same type of thing. So when we send that to the server, we're actually going to return just the food item that was there and not all that extra information, because that would be a lot to hold in the database. Every variation of a food would be too much. So we just need to parse all that stuff out. And here we'll go through an example of like how the meal plan's actually created. So if we want to make a meal plan from today till tomorrow, first I update the restrictions real quick just because we don't have too many recipes. This will give us more options for what we could actually make for this user. So here you're going to see like tons of hits to the database, and this is because we have to first query like what recipes are going to work for this user. Do they have restrictions? Is that throughout recipes? What kind of meal are they looking for? Is it lunch, breakfast, or dinner? And once we have that, what recipes actually match with what the user has in the pantry? So we'll actually have to check those. And once we have all that figured out, then we start making the meals. So we'll periodically update the pantry and also the shopping list. So we'll take items from the pantry, and if we don't have them, we'll be adding that to the shopping list. And so that's kind of what's happening there. That's why it takes a little bit. And so when we go to meal plans, now we have a lunch made, and it's from 12:05 to 12:06. So we have 2 days there. We can check the grilled cheese that was just made, and we can also look at our pantry and see, okay, bread looks like it went down a little bit because we had to use some of that, and also cheese went up over here to make that grilled cheese, so we added that to the shopping list as well. And that about does it for the app.